Good morning, Grace Tribe. I hope y'all are doing wonderful. I have not been as involved in the comments this morning as I often am. Uh, there's some debate about joining in on the Facebook side versus on the YouTube side versus on the website. And so I'll just chime in real quick. If you're joining us, maybe the first time or two that you joined us, you're probably finding us often on Facebook. That is by far the largest audience that we reach. But feel free to join us if you are a YouTuber. I would really love for you to join us and subscribe on YouTube. In fact, if you want to be in the drawing for our mugs that we're giving away, then you need to follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, you can join us on the website. Now, the advantages are a little different. I think on Facebook, you might see more comments once we get started. On YouTube, you can actually join in before we get started. And so there's some fun conversation. I call it the green room. We kind of are chatting and sharing prayer requests and talking to one another before we get started on YouTube. And on the website at MikeQDaniel.com, you get the benefit of chatting with everybody before we start on YouTube. But you also, should anything happen with Facebook or YouTube or any other venue, we wanted to be able to provide a consistent place where you can plug in regardless of what's happening in the world of social media. So if we have to go to a different channel or a different venue, use different service, you can always find us, Lord willing, on MikeQDaniel.com. So have all of those handy so that you can tune in where you want. A few people, and this makes me laugh, I love this, a few people have YouTube up so that they can chat with everyone before we start, and then they have Facebook up while we are online because there's more interaction on Facebook. The venue that I have has comments from both. It's just a service that I'm using to broadcast on. So usually I see most comments, but anyway, yeah, both ends, don't want to miss any of it. Tabitha says, I understand. That's me. I got to see it all. And when I get done, I go back and look at people's comments later on in the morning and interact with people even after the fact. So anyway, chime in where it's easiest for you. But regardless, to help us with the algorithm on Facebook and on YouTube and everywhere else, I would love for you to follow the Facebook page, like the Facebook video, and certainly subscribe and like the YouTube channel. We really are trying to, that helps us with the algorithm in being more visible to more people, which is the goal, right? We want to give away the truth and freedom and joy of our life in Christ to as many people as possible. We offer it for free, and we need your help to get the word out. So listen, where's the joy? Where's the joy? We are talking today in episode 206 of Mike Q. Daniel Live about joy. It was probably, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I was headed to speak at an event on the weekend out of town near Houston, and a buddy of mine, Nick Newman, Nick, if you're watching, shout out to you, said, well, why don't I go along with you? I have nothing to do. You know, Sunday morning, we're getting up really early. We're taking off to preach near Houston, and then we're driving back afterwards. And so he hopped in the car, and on the way there, we discussed art and history and travel and world events. And then during the message, I brought up something about joy in Christ. And as Nick and I left and we're driving home, we spent most of that drive talking about why joy is not more of a topic in more messages, especially in Christ as life, grace-based new covenant teaching. Why don't we talk about joy? Joy kind of seems, we know about peace, we know that we have freedom, we know we have life in Christ, we know, but there's not a lot of talk about joy, and there seems to be a lot of people upset in the Christian life, upset about the world, upset about our circumstances, kind of banging the drum of Jesus is your peace and Jesus is your rest, and there's never much about joy, and there doesn't seem to be much joy. And so I thought that we could talk. We talked about it. I did a message on it many years ago, and I thought we could talk about it today. By the way, I hope you have a Lovely cup of coffee this morning. I'm going to switch these things out. What does this tell you about my, that was tea from yesterday. Get my warmer on here for my coffee. I'm thrilled to get to be with you today and to talk about joy. In the picture that y'all saw before we got started, or as we were getting started, that was Stacey and I in our recent Europe trip. And we have been there before and done work there before. But when we were going to do some touristy things one day, it just was raining like crazy. And there's this amazing reality that in the daunting, really hard rain, it's not like we could say, oh man, it's raining. We're out at Montmartre. We're looking at all the artists and the tourists scatter because the rain is so hard. And so, it's our touristy day. We're wandering around the Sacré-Cœur Cathedral and the artsy center around Paris, and it's rained out. I mean, it's raining like crazy. But we bought an umbrella, and both of us trying to stay under our umbrella, and we kept trying to take pictures of everything, and we couldn't get the umbrella out of the way. I would either put it in front of her face or it'd be covering part of my face. We'd have a big shadow on it. So the joke was, that we can't take a good picture on this touristy day in Paris because of the umbrella and the rain. It just kind of became funny. And so we're walking around trying to take pictures in the rain with our umbrella of all of these sites. And it was just funny. What are we really missing of real life because the circumstances are less than we would like them to be? Joy is really not something we find. In fact, I wrote this down. We actually had a lot of fun in the rain, missing out on some of the tourist attractions. Everybody scattering from there. We saw a few pieces of art and we thought that'd be great to have. I wonder how much it is. Where's the artist? Because it just was coming down and people sort of scattered, and we're out there in the rain with our umbrella trying to take photos of all of us in front of all of the touristy things. And it was a mess. We were laughing. We'd go into a store. Of course, we have to have our masks on. So we'd be putting down the umbrella and putting on the masks and trying to get in the store before we're completely drenched. And it was crazy. It was hilarious. But it was because we didn't need to make the circumstances joyful. Does that make sense? You can have joy in your experience if you don't have to make your circumstances the source of the joy. Let me say that again. That is just for you guys. I've never said that before. Let me see if I can say it twice or something similar. You don't have to you don't have to find joy in your circumstances if the circumstances aren't the source of the joy. You actually get to walk in fullness of joy if and only if the circumstances aren't the source of it for you. So I kind of am circling that idea a little bit because I get to walk in joy consistently to the degree that my pain or lack of pain, my circumstances going as planned or not going as planned, the rainy weather, the photos that you're dreaming of being able to take that are covered with an umbrella, or some of them have a shadow. I'm taking a photo and there's a shadow from the umbrella right. You know what? None of those things make the trip. Getting to be there in Christ with my bride, doing something we never get to do, is enough. It's enough. We often feel like joy is sort of like that heirloom. Stacey and I were celebrating our anniversary this week, and not on the trip, but actually this week. That was a while ago. The trip was, but we have a tradition we almost never do. It's this great tradition we almost never make happen. We like to watch our wedding video on our anniversary. And for a while, we were really good at that. But then we moved a couple of times over the years, over the decades. And, I know that we've got it. It's packed away somewhere. It's under some other stuff. It's in a box under other things behind another box in a room that we can't really get into in the attic in some far off space. And so we kind of know where it is. We absolutely know that we've got it, but we never quite get to it. And I think and the reality is, on our anniversary or around our anniversary, we want to watch it. We think about it, but we have packed our schedule, right? We're going to try to go to dinner here, and we're meeting with friends here, and we're going to do this there. And so our schedule around our anniversaries, I mean, we're still working, we're still doing stuff. So we've got to find time to find the video and unpack everything and get everything else out of the way so that we can get to the video so that we can keep that tradition. The reality is we're having fun and we have things planned and we're both very busy and have a lot of work, and we just don't always get to it. We used to get to it very consistently. We like to say that's still our sort of tradition to watch our wedding video, but we've not watched it in a few years because we can't get to it easily. And I think we think that's what joy is like. So our anniversary was the day before yesterday. We actually celebrated last night, went to dinner, and I think that's what we think joy is like. Like, I've got to get my circumstances to be more peaceful so that I can walk in more freedom. And then in that freedom, I can find joy. Or maybe you flip those around. I've got to get free from these circumstances that are causing me such grief so that I can experience peace. And then in the midst of the peace, I can experience joy. It's almost like joy is some secondary benefit of the Christian life. It's not primary, it's secondary. If I can get out of the chaos of my circumstances so that I can be free to do what I want to be doing in the circumstances, then what I'm doing can give me joy. And I'm here to tell you, you have as much joy as you have Jesus. Jesus is the joy. Joy is Christ. He is it. You aren't looking for joy like it's tucked away in a box in the back of the attic. You don't have to find the joy. You bring the joy. You don't have to find the joy. You bring the joy. And part of the problem is we have really good excuses for not being joyous, and we don't want to give up often our really good excuses. We're validated in being angry. We're validated in being hurt. We're validated. We have good reasons for all of these other negative emotions. So if I embrace the joy, then I'm making it okay that someone was mean to me. If I embrace the joy that I have in Christ, then I'm making the circumstances not very daunting. If I'm okay being joyous, then it's like I'm okay being in pain today. And that's just not the case. Jesus is the joy, and he's the joy in circumstances that aren't joyful. You're not invalidating what you're dealing with because you're walking in the joy of Christ. And my hope is that if we put our finger on our excuses for not being joyous, then we can walk in joy without undermining sort of the validation of what we're struggling with. So as y'all know, many of y'all know, a couple of months ago, I was very sick with an upper respiratory virus, kind of an adult version of RSV is what it was. And it was bad. It was really, really bad. I'm doing breathing treatments twice a day. They take about 30 to 40 minutes each. It takes me about 2 hours to recover from each of those breathing treatments. And all the while, because I have some chronic pain issues, and those are mitigated by some fitness things that I do, which I could not do for over a month. So the fitness goes down, so the pain goes up, and the breathing treatments make the pain even worse. And then I have to recover from the breathing treatments themselves. I am pretty much for 5 weeks just toast. I can't talk. I'm constantly coughing. I have a splitting headache from the neck and back pain and tension that causes. Just trying to breathe. Coming out of that, I just was recovering from the upper respiratory virus, and we had this trip planned for Europe. And so we went on the Europe trip, and again, not getting a lot of fitness, so my fitness is down. So the trip is harder, and the carrying the luggage and the going up the stairs and the cobblestone streets. So here's the condition that I'm in. I'm out of shape. My back is wrecked. My neck tension is causing constant headaches. and the weather isn't great. And we do this, 20-hour, trip to get there. And plans that we had for my hopes for ministry did not come through as planned because of the pandemic. And so here we are in France and have every reason to be miserable. But then you have to miss out on France. We paid to go. We didn't get to do the ministry I hoped to do. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm out of fitness. I'm dealing with tons of stuff. It's just, there's nothing easy about it, but we need to stop confusing easy and good. Easy and good are not the same thing. Some of the best experiences of our life are the hard things in life. And so the photo that y'all saw in fact, I think maybe I can show it to you. There it is. That's Sacré-Cœur in Montmartre behind us. And the reality is, in this photo, that is we're laughing because I'm having a hard time getting the umbrella. You see, I've stuck the umbrella behind my head. We've been taking photos and touring around in this incredible rain, trying to be good tourists. But we actually walked from our hotel, which was not in Montmartre. It was a pretty long hike, and I'm in a lot of pain. And we've gone up and down those stairs, and we've hiked all around in the rain, and we're just kind of making the most of the day. But I'm here to tell you, we were laughing. We were having a great time. We were enjoying the rain. We were laughing at all the tourists huddled under awnings. We kind of had Sacré-Cœur. We'd been in it before. We didn't go inside, but walking around Sacré-Cœur was much easier because everybody's hiding from the rain. And, we're having a great time. It doesn't make the pain less. It doesn't make the circumstances easier. It embraces the reality that joy and fun and excitement is not mutually exclusive from struggle and difficulty. There is some blue sky. It came and went like this. So we have the umbrella and the sun comes out and we're like, do you put the umbrella away? Anyway, to the world, joy is sought in every circumstance. How can I make the circumstance what I need it to be? Because then I'll be okay. Then I'll be happy. If I can get the circumstance to be peaceful, then I can operate in freedom instead of struggling with the circumstance. I have peace in the circumstance. I can have freedom, and the freedom can give me joy. I really do think that's what the world is often trying to do. We're trying to unpack joy as if it's under the chaos. So if I could fix the chaos, if I could fix the anxiety, then I'd be free of the circumstance. And then being free of the tyranny of my circumstance, the tyranny of my sadness, the tyranny of whatever I'm a victim of, then I could have joy. And I'm here to tell you, you can have joy now. Now. You don't have to unpack it from behind the chaos and anxiety and worry and fear and struggle and pain and grief of a broken and fallen world. You can have the joy walking in to the circumstance, not trying to get it from the circumstance. To the world and to many Christians, if we don't know better, joy is sought in every circumstance, but in Christ, joy is brought into every circumstance. We aren't looking for joy. We're meant to be the conduit of it. We sing joy to the world. Christ came as joy. Joy to the world, meaning Christ to the world, right? The angels told the shepherds before the birth of Christ, joy to the world, and on earth peace and goodwill toward men on whom his favor rests. Great tidings, tidings of great joy. Why? Because Jesus came, joy came. Jesus is the joy. Because Jesus came, joy came. You're still under Rome. You're still under tyranny. The world is still hard. Circumstances aren't what you want. Joy is being born in a manger, cast out from safety and security of the inn. And yet that's where you will find joy. Joy is Jesus. You bet. Joy to the world. but not from the world. Joy to the world. Through us, Christ in us. Joy to the circumstance you're walking into, but not from the circumstance you're walking into. If I can give up wanting joy from the circumstance, I can bring it into every circumstance. But I can't pursue both. I can't walk in the joy of Christ and try to cause it from the circumstance. They're kind of mutually exclusive. Paul and Silas in Acts 16, they were walking through Philippi, and a woman is screaming at them because she's demon possessed, and she's a slave, and her slave owners use her demonic possession to make money, because the demons can know things that she couldn't know about the people that she meets. And so they use her as if she's a fortune teller. That doesn't mean that the demons are omniscient. It means that they can know things and move around and know things from each other that this woman could not possibly know about circumstances, about people. And so these slave owners use this woman, this victim, this slave. They use her as a fortune teller and make money by her possession. Talk about oppression. And so she's screaming, these demons through her, screaming at Paul and Silas in Philippi, and they finally turn to her, and Paul casts the demons out of her. And first of all, the townspeople in Philippi are in awe. Wow, this woman was clearly possessed, and this Jesus that they're talking about has completely set her free. But then everybody started to realize that that's going to cost them some money, that these two apostles are going to be undermining their economy based on evil. And so they cause a big ruckus, cause a bit of a mutiny, if you will, or just a mob, and get them thrown into jail. So here's what happens. They are captured because they set a woman free from possession. They're first of all mobbed, then they're arrested, then they are beaten, and then bloody and beaten and exhausted and victimized for doing a beautiful, brilliant, kind, divine thing, right? So not only are these things done to them, they're done to them for doing good, right, beautiful things for the very people that are doing this to them. They're beaten, arrested, beaten, thrown in jail. So bleeding, don't think for a minute that they're not bleeding and hurt. Have you been a victim of anything? Can you relate? Are you hurting? Are you dealing with things you don't deserve? Have you done the right thing and been treated wrongly? Or maybe you've done the wrong thing and it's been used against you? Unfairly condemned? They sang. They started to sing. They're praying and praising. They weren't singing to get out of prison. They were singing despite the fact that they were in prison and beaten and arrested and mobbed for doing divine good. Praising God. And honestly, I would, if I look at it objectively, I have to say, for what? What are you praising God for? You're wrongly accused, mobbed, arrested, beaten, and jailed, and probably going to be killed, or at least just left there indefinitely. And we see that story. They started to sing, and the jail cells, flew open. There's an earthquake. The doors fly open. The guard freaks out because he was put in charge of keeping them, and everyone, not just Paul and Silas. People miss this all the time. everyone, as Paul and Silas are singing and praising and praying to God, the jail opens up and all of the prisoners stay because of this holy moment, because of holy people, because of the indwelling presence of Christ. There is nothing holy happening in that place. There's holy people because of the presence of God in them. It's the presence of Christ that made the place holy. And it's the presence of Christ in his holiness that gave them joy. The psalmist says, the joy of the Lord is my strength. They are okay where they are because his presence is enough for them. We read that story in Acts 16 and we think, well, this is how you get free, is you sing. No, they weren't singing to get free. They were singing because of the joy in them, having been wrongly accused, mobbed, beaten, arrested, and left for dead. The joy in them in that moment. You cannot tell me that we are looking for joy from God through our circumstances. We are enjoying God regardless of our circumstances. That's the power. It doesn't undermine what has been done to you. It just doesn't matter as much because God is as sovereign in what he's doing through the evil of the world as he would be as he will when he gets rid of it. He's no less sovereign in your life, how he will use it in your life as he will be when he gets rid of it. And he will get rid of it. But my hope is not evil ending. My hope is the one that is in me is greater than the evil in the world. Now, today. Anytime, my friends, anytime that walking with Jesus in any circumstance, any trouble, any turmoil, any struggle, any trial, anytime walking with Jesus is not the most joyous thing in our life. If I could have more joy from the circumstance than I do already in my experience with Christ, then we're missing something. I don't think Paul and Silas sang louder when the cell doors opened. I don't think that they were missing out on life while those cell doors were still closed. Christianity is not about us being good or doing the right thing so that God will bless us. They were not singing so they could be set free. They were singing because in the prison they were already free in Christ. It's not about being good or doing the right thing or doing something for God, but being with Christ himself, who is the lover of our soul, the source of our joy, the source of freedom and peace, the lover of our very soul and the fountain of life in every circumstance. It's about him. It's about him. Christianity is not about what we do for him. It's about who he is with us and our getting to do life with him. Our mistake, as I mentioned earlier, is often we mistake this. We think that peace brings freedom and freedom brings joy. But my friend, they're all the same Jesus. Jesus is the peace and Jesus is the freedom and Jesus is the joy. You are not lacking joy in him because he is the joy today. I wrote down this quote. I need to kind of round third. Henry Nouwen, I think I copied this down from his book Here and Now. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this is from Henry Nouwen's book Here and Now. Just listen to this. I'll give you the question of the day after this. All right. Here's Nouwen's quote. It's a page here. All right. We're inclined to think that when we're sad, we cannot be glad. But in the life of a God-centered person, sorrow and joy can exist together. That isn't easy to understand, but when we think about some of our deepest life experiences, such as being present at the birth of a child or the death of a friend, great sorrow and great joy often seem to be parts of the same experience. Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. It is a choice based on the knowledge that we belong to God and have found in God our refuge and our safety, and that nothing, not even death, can take God away from us. There's more, but I'll stop there. Joy doesn't just happen to us, right? I love that. Joy is not something that just happens to us. We have to choose it and continue to choose it every day based on our knowledge that God himself is our refuge and our source and our safety, and nothing, even death, can take away God as our refuge and safety. Death and pain and circumstances are not a threat to our joy, because our circumstances, our feelings, our experiences are not the source of our joy. What will your life today as a joy bringer be like in the context of what you have coming up today? What will your life as a joy bringer instead of a joy seeker be like in the context of your day today? Make today about knowing him more, who is your joy, about growing in grace as you depend upon him, and going to love others like crazy, like only Christ can do in and through you. Be sure to sign up for our giveaway for our mugs. We're going to give away a bunch of them, so sign up for the Facebook page at Mike Q Daniel on Facebook, the YouTube channel at Mike Q Daniel, and MikeQDaniel.com. Sign up for our email list, and where we send out devotional articles each week and some overviews of what we've done that week. If you're on those three things, you'll be in the drawing for one of the mugs. And if you make a donation, if you're on those lists and you make a donation, you can put in the comments of your donation, mug me. We'll just send you a mug. We're happy to do that this month. So I hope that you'll do that. If you get on the email list, all of that is in the email that you'll receive, and we will keep sharing that while the supplies last. The mugs are on order. As soon as they come in, we'll start giving them away, and I hope that you will get in on that. Sure do love you guys. Be the joy bringer today, not the joy seeker. Be the one who gives it, not who's trying to unpack it under the peace and freedom that we're trying to cause, but with the peace and freedom and joy that is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Know him, grow in grace, go love each other like crazy, and I'll see y'all not tomorrow. Make a list of your joys this week, and I will see you on Monday. Thank you, guys.